I'm Matthew Greenberg. I am a key account manager out of the Chicago office. I I've been with the company about 5 years. Eric and I were actually hired in the same hiring group. It was pretty good. My connection to Jewish culture, I was raised a conservative Jew. I went to synagogue most weekends. I was pretty involved at the synagogue and with youth groups and ongoing Jewish education. Now I'm married and working on putting together a Jewish family at some point. So that's where I'm at.
My name is Eric Levine. I've been a senior account manager here, been with the company for 5+ years now. I grew up in the north suburbs as a Reformed Jew, so maybe not as religious, but definitely an active part of my life. Went to Hebrew school, got bar mitzvahed, did Jewish youth group in high school, went to Hillel in college, and am active in Jewish organizations here in Chicago.
My favorite thing about Jewish culture, it's the culture itself, it's the community, and all of the togetherness that is kind of an expectation, and you're brought up within that expectation in your childhood and in adulthood too. Eric and I both grew up on the North Shore of Chicago, which is a major Jewish hub of just communities. So I grew up relatively insulated in that most of the people around me, most of the activities I was participating in, all had something to do with Judaism. My dad grew up more religious, my mom less so, and they kind of came together and met in the middle to build a family.
So it's usually a couple days a week, and then like Sundays as well. So I went twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, just for Hebrew, and then Sundays was basically you would go on Sunday to basically learn about the culture. So Monday, Wednesday was like just language, and then Sunday was like learning about the culture, about the holidays, about their traditions, learning about Israel, right? The history, that kind of thing. But Monday and Wednesday when I went was just purely Hebrew, and the reason for that is so you could read Torah at your bar mitzvah, which is in Hebrew.
Once you had your bar bat mitzvah, you had the choice to go to Hebrew high school, where it's just the higher level of learning within the Hebrew school. Yes, you're still doing some of the language itself and learning to read and write and speak Hebrew, but it gets a lot more into the culture aspect, a lot more into the history and kind of what it is to be a Jew in the world we live in. Something I value. I hated it as a kid. Right? I hated it. I didn't want to go to Hebrew school as a kid, and now as an adult, it means a lot to me that I have that knowledge and that background. There's like 3 or 4 ways that you learn to read Hebrew, because Hebrew has its own alphabet, right? But then you also have like the beginner version where vowels in Hebrew are only symbols. There aren't like an actual letter that represents a vowel sound. So in adulthood, and you go to Israel or you read just like any Hebrew text, there won't be any vowels. So you kind of have to really know the language to be able to read it successfully and know what it means. And then Torah script is its own totally different thing, right? It's the same letters that look way different, no vowels either. So you have to kind of learn it, then memorize it, and then relearn it again. But you have the same foundation that teaches you all those things.
Every week, we've talked about this in the past, is Shabbat. So that's like Friday night to Saturday night. We're supposed to get together and, be with family, go to synagogue. And I mentioned getting bar mitzvahed, right? So that's our version. That's, like getting communion or whatever, kind of becoming a man or woman in Judaism. So those are some of the big thing. Obviously, there's Hanukkah and Passover and some of the bigger holidays. So that's where a lot of us get together and we have our own traditions and customs there. But I think a lot of it just kind of revolves around holidays and getting together with family.
A funny way to think about it is like, how there's like national whatever day it is, you can look it up and it could be literally anything. There's a little bit of that in Judaism. There's a holiday just about all the time. The high holidays are coming up. For Rosh Hashanah is the New Year, and then Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. pretty much everyone knows about them. If like we always laughed, the twice a year synagogue goers, that's when they're going, is for the high holidays. And then and Yom Kippur, right, you're fasting all day, so big gathering at the end of it to break the fast, and you get to eat finally. Rosh Hashanah is always a big family gathering. Passover for a Seder, that happens in spring. It's kind of a meal built into a service built into a meal. So you do the service sitting around the dinner table, and eating is kind of part of it. There's traditional foods you eat throughout the evening before the actual meal. And then, a bar bat mitzvah is becoming an adult, recognized as an adult in the Jewish community, is a big rite of passage. You spend, easily probably 10 years, 5 to 10 years studying, learning all of the basics to be able to perform on that day, and you read Torah, and you get to do other participation within the service more than just a member of the congregation. I remember just being really proud of myself. It's a big point of pride when you're a 13-year-old. Everything just emphasizes and helps grow what you want your life to be like as it pertains to Judaism.
There's always, I like to say, a lot of the holidays have a catch. You have to go to synagogue. You have to sit through a long service, or before a meal. Hanukkah, there's really very little of that. You sing a few songs, you light some candles, have some fried food, and you get present. So it's like a kid-based holiday, but as a guy who's almost 35, it's still my favorite.
I was a big fan of Hanukkah growing up, right, for those same reasons. Hanukkah is going to be like the most widely known Jewish holiday for non-Jews because it always happens right around Christmas. Growing up, I always thought Purim was one of my favorites. Purim is basically like carnival or it's like a mix of carnival and Halloween, where it's the drinking, partying, dress up and play games kind of event. And there's always a special kind of cookie that you make. And so I just remember, it's called a Hamantaschen. It's a triangle-shaped cookie that has like a jelly or some other kind of little filling in the middle. And I always had such a good time making Hamantaschen with my mom growing up. And we would make all the different flavors, and then you would go to like a Hamantaschen exchange instead of a cookie exchange, and everyone got to try everyone else's different Hamantaschen. You were dressed up, and there was a big carnival. Then you could go as anything. You could go as one of the kings or queens from the story. You could go as the bad guy, or you could go as a tiger or a pirate or a ninja, and it was all great. In Judaism, the challah is one of the religious symbols. Like every Friday night for Shabbat, you light candles, you drink wine, and you cut bread, which is always a challah, is a traditional one. It's kind of a sweet bread, super fluffy and delicious. Watch my video about it. I made some with my brother. That's really the go-to. You could eat it plain. You can just have like bread and butter with it. Really anything you could think of, this is the right bread choice.
I make French toast with it.
Yeah, it's great. Matzah Passover itself. Passover has like 5 to 10 foods just for itself that you eat exclusively and only for Passover, because you wouldn't really want to maybe some of the other times. Like matzah, there's nothing to matzah, but you have to eat it. Horseradish is another classic one for Passover. Travis, you and I talked a little bit about gefilte fish.
That's my favorite.
My family makes homemade gefilte fish, and it is outstanding, but I want no part of the actual creation process. It's usually a white fish, and you grind it up and mash it up and add like carrots and onions, like diced up really small, and you just make like a ball of fish. And somehow they cook it, and it becomes delicious. And I like eating it with a little red horseradish on there for a little spice. But it's just one of those traditional things. Every Jewish family you go to will have some form of gefilte fish.
Matzo ball soup. It's basically chicken soup with a dumpling in it, like it was made with matzo meal, which is its own thing. So that's up there. We talked a little bit, I think, on our last call about brisket, which is just like a, cut of meat, not Texas style. It's kind of done on our own. Corned beef is up there. You can find it like, Jewish delis, Katz's sort of thing. A lot of holidays sort of have their own special foods in a way. So that would be up there. I do want to take note and point out, as much as people hate it, nothing wrong with a little Manischewitz wine from time to time, or grape juice.
Bagel and schmear, right? Nice
yeah,
bagel.
lox and bagel. Yeah,
bagel, cream cheese, and lox. There's
Yeah.
nothing religious about it other than most Jews tend to like them. So it
Yeah.
sounds great. We'll have them. We'll have them for everything.
We talk about holidays, but also just rites of passage, right? So you have a bris or baby naming, basically welcoming you into the Jewish religion. Bar mitzvahs, like we talked about, and then weddings, and I think funerals are really the four biggest rites of passage, and that's where those are kind of the biggest gatherings, I would say, throughout your lifetime.
Jewish weddings are awesome. The best weddings you'll ever go to are gonna be Jewish weddings. The reason for that is manyfold. The service is short. Like maybe 30 to 40 minutes. If you're going much longer, then something extra special is happening. But your classic Jewish service for a wedding is pretty short and sweet. From there, it's kind of like most other weddings you ever been to, except that you're going to have probably more partying going on. There's 7 prayers that get said at some point. You end it by the groom breaks the glass. You get either a wine glass or a traditional glass, and you stomp on it at the end. And then everyone yells Mazel Tov, congratulations. That's pretty much the end of the ceremony. You'll drink wine out of a Kiddush cup. You might have your prayer shawl called a tallis that you drape over yourselves. The rings are a big part of it, like any other ceremony. And then the chuppah, which is a structure that you get married under. It's basically, you build it with 4 poles at the corners. Depending how it's built, you might have someone assigned to hold each of those corners so it doesn't fall down. And then you have another tallis that's draped over the top of it. And that is the traditional structure, if you will, building home. It's representative of a Jewish home, and you're getting married under the chuppah. The food is going to be excellent. The booze will be flowing. But you also have your great dances, great vibe. One of the key things to any Jewish wedding is going to be the hora, which is where they play Hava Nagila, and everyone's basically running around in circles. And that's the dance, is you have concentric circles where everyone is running, the different circles run in different directions, and the main bridal party is in the middle. The bride and groom dance in a circle, and the family gets really close. You bring chairs and everyone hoists you up on the chairs. It's something that I firmly believe should be present at every wedding, because it's an automatic way to get even the crazy Aunt Muriel, who never is going to get out of her chair. She's going to get up and dance during the hora. Everyone gets on the floor for it.
That sounds...
I did once in my bar mitzvah.
Yeah, bar mitzvah and your wedding, you get hoisted up on a chair.
Yeah. It's really an everyday thing for me. No. They're all fun. Really, the biggest thing is you're not supposed to have a wedding during Shabbat, so very few are during our Friday night or Saturday. So we do a lot of Sunday weddings.
Shabbat is considered the day of rest. And in Judaism, you follow the lunar calendar, so a day goes from sundown to sundown. So any given week, Shabbat is sundown on Friday until sundown on Saturday. Some of us get around that by waiting till sundown on Saturday, because that's when they wanted to have their wedding, and that's okay too. Eric and I laugh about this one together because some of the misconceptions are also very accurate, but they are stereotypes and misconceptions.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, sort of thing.
Yeah.
We all love money.
Yeah, right.
Or something. We run the world.
Yeah, frugality, being penny pinchers and stuff like that. yeah, that's not the best stereotype, but also like, yeah, you go to the store, you don't get a toy every time. You got something already, you're fine. You don't need a new one. In opposition to that misconception that Jews don't want to spend money, they're super frugal and all that kind of stuff, is the concept of tzedakah, which is charity, basically. And that is such an important and prevalent idea in Judaism. The idea of giving back, giving what you can, being inviting and welcoming, even if you have little to nothing to give, being willing to share it.
I agree. It's usually about giving back our time as well. Where like you said, charity is big, and a lot of times for our bar mitzvah, for example, we have to do some kind of project. We're very motivated to be successful, I would say. So that there's a drive there to provide for your family, or just obviously for yourself, and just be the best you can be.
I guess the misconception I would point towards is that that Jews do these things, like they come upon their success nefariously. They don't. This goes back to education. Jews tend to be very educated, highly educated folks, and in general, history tells us the more educated you are, the better of a success you're going to be in society. One bad experience, right? It could have been at the bank. It could have been at the car shop. It could have been at the grocery store. It could have been anything, but it turned out the person that you had a bad experience with was Jewish, and therefore this negativity applies to all Jews. And people really, that becomes deep-seated with them. Jews forever have just been such a thorough scapegoat for the problems of society. But given the opportunity, I would be thrilled to talk to that person, to educate them, to answer their questions. Because at the end of it, usually they just don't know. And if I can help them to understand better, then I've done a mitzvah, a good deed.
Mazel tov means congratulations. L'chaim also kind of means congratulations. Good luck, sort of thing.
You would use Mazel tov would be a congratulations, and you would say it in that same context. L'chaim literally means to life.
To life, yeah.
So you would use that like for a toast. If you've seen Fiddler on the Roof, there's the whole song.
There's a song.
L'chaim to life. You're toasting.
Yeah.
My other favorite one is new. Just N-U is the English spelling. New? It just means so? Well, what are we? What are we doing?
Yeah.
I use that at home constantly. In my family, and my wife does not speak a word of Hebrew, but she learns a few words now because I just feel like, so what are we doing for dinner? New? What are we doing? What's going on?
I'll use some Yiddish, like we talked about. Schlep, and I once called my dad a schmuck, and I've never seen him so angry. I thought it was just meant like dumb, but it's a little bit worse than that. So some Yiddish gets thrown into my day-to-day words. Oy vey. Oy vey I say actually probably every day. In some aspect of my life, somewhere. So those are probably the ones I say the most of.
You've probably heard a Yiddish one, Gesundheit. Is Yiddish just say bless you when you sneeze, sort of thing.
I thought that was German.
It's
right?
mixed German and Hebrew or something. I think it's mostly German.
Yiddish is pretty much a dead language that is an amalgamation of all the different European languages in some context or another, plus Hebrew and Armenian. So Yiddish, good luck. Like in a competition or at a basketball game, sports game, whatever it was, Ultimate Frisbee. A lot of the Jews I grew up with play Ultimate Frisbee. Someone was always trying to yell, Chazak, be strong, like go get it, sort of thing.
Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Thank you.